Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody joining. This is Design Together, Deliver Faster for Frictionless Collaboration in Onshape. This is brought to you by the technical marketing team at Onshape. So we like to build things. We've built this medical stretcher here. So most of what you're going to see here today is actual engineers work in the product, building collaboratively together. However, I would like to take 2 to 3 minutes to just talk about the business implications of working collaboratively in Onshape. Next slide, please. So, very quickly, design does not happen in isolation. Most of you know this. People who've dialed in either from startup companies or large companies. If you're on the startup side, you're probably investigating tools that don't get in the way, right? You're on that journey and you're trying to find the tool set that is right for you, and you're evolving. If you're a larger company, you probably have tool sets that are probably a little bit older, and you're also looking for tool sets that don't get in the way. You're probably also looking at newer, more advanced use cases like predictive maintenance and such. Um, and the good news is that cloud native platforms are here today. They're revolutionizing how product design happens, and people are achieving outcomes. So 3.8 x reduction in ECOs, 94% improvement in time to resolution efficiency, 60% decrease in cost of quality, 80% increase in overall data accuracy. How is this happening? It's really the cloud native revolution. A lot of data is going on cloud, and we're bringing modern technical stacks to the product development world. Today, we want to put a spotlight on the design aspect of how products go to market. Design tends to sit in a very upstream in a complicated cascade of tools. Imagine making a mistake at the design level that can propagate all the way down to somewhere in the ERP system. Someone buys, maybe makes a wrong purchasing decision, and has huge implications on your business. Also, if it doesn't have to be a mistake, people can just worry about changing your design too much, and they don't innovate as much. You start falling behind competition, essentially. So today, Onshape would like to put a spotlight on the how to work collaboratively in the design phase. Okay, Mike, do you want
Yeah.
to start?
Thanks, Sandeep. And it's nice to see everybody here. Um, we're going to show you Onshape as the way of controlling this, right? To solve a lot of the challenges that Sandeep was talking about, making sure there's consistency in information and everybody has access, right? And that's really what Onshape's all about. It's a cloud-based CAD platform, right? That has CAD and PDM built into it, but it is inherently collaborative. And it's collaborative because of its web-based architecture. You think of platforms like Google Docs and other online tools that I'm sure you've all used. You sign in, you access it. There's nothing to install, and the collaboration is just there. You hit the share button, you see people working with you. This is just the way it works in most of the modern kind of web-based applications that are out there, including Onshape. And we're really the only one in the engineering CAD kind of category that's doing it at this really modern level. Many benefits to doing this, right? So we're going to show you Onshape. Onshape is a CAD system, right? You're going to design your parts, assemblies, and drawings inside of Onshape in the browser. I'm on a Mac. You can run this on Linux. You can run this on your phone, right? We've had people running it on their Peloton. It's just really fun to see it that way. But it's a CAD system. But what we're really going to focus in on today is how that CAD system enables multiple people to work together through real-time communication tools, real-time editing, like driving your CAD models together, getting approvals done, working with your suppliers, even doing other aspects of things like Cam, right? We need to generate tool paths and things like that, right? So we're not going to show you everything that Onshape can do today, of course, but we're going to just go through a simple design process. Aaron Magnan and I are going to simulate a design workflow, working together, essentially.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Great intro. Thanks, Sandeep. Yeah, so you're probably wondering what we're going to be showing you today, and I think this slide does a great job of summarizing kind of what we're going to do. I'm going to try to speak to some of these items without stealing our own thunder, but what we're going to be showing you during this collaborative workflow is we're going to be doing some real-time collaboration. So synchronously, Sandeep is going to be able to review something with Michael. There's always in-context communication. So maybe you're working asymmetrically or asynchronously, I should say. You need to just send a message. You need to capture like some small bit of feedback, like a design change or some sort of other feedback. This is done through some in-context communications. The fact that you can access these tools from anywhere shouldn't be a big surprise. I mean, anyone working on Google Documents or other items like that, you know that your coworkers, no matter where they are in the world, will be able to access these things and jump in and start giving feedback right away. And then all along the way, in the background, without you even doing anything, you're going to be able to access all the changes throughout your design history. So this is just a fantastic way of kind of highlighting what it is that Onshape will do for you in this context. So
yeah, it's really amazing what we're gonna be able to do today. Yeah, I've been a long time CAD person. We all have on this call, and I still pinch myself, every day that I get to use Onshape and see the way it works. It's just, I really can't go back to that C:\/ way of working now that I've started working this way. So today's work, here's our checklist of things that we're gonna try to get to in today's design session. We're gonna start by designing a new mounting block that supports this bed here. We're gonna share with some design colleagues, both inside and outside the office. We don't have to deal with VPNs or emailing things or setting up weird apps or anything like that. We're gonna do design changes in a very cool way, in a Git style way of doing it with branches, right? So let's just get right into the software so we can kind of go through this. And the first thing we're going to do is get to this task to add a new mounting block. And you can see here, I just hit the escape key. I'm on a Mac computer, right? And, this is my, Chrome web browser. Here's my phone too. I have my phone kind of broadcasting to the screen as well. So we can kind of show off some of the collaboration in that sense as well. But, you're signed in to Onshape as a person, right? You sign in, with an email address and a password. You can even have two-factor authentication, and you have access to the information where you left off. No need to use pack and go or backup files or anything like that when you want to work from different devices or anything like that. So here I am. Here's this medical stretcher. And, there's various amounts of information that you can glean without even opening it, right? This is a modern system. I can see, modeling activity, who's doing what and when, where things are being accessed from. You can see where Sandeep, Aaron, and I are working together, on this. Somebody down here must have been my colleague, Roy, down in metro area in New York, Jersey. So let's jump right in to that design. And here's the bottom frame assembly, but let's go right to the first tab. A design in Onshape is usually housed in a document, and a document is like where you can store parts, assemblies, drawings, and other related information. Think of it as an engineering notebook for your design. You can see I have a drawing, some of the components for the top frame in here. You can, of course, split things across multiple documents as well. But I have this, you notice there's this number 1 showing up right here. If I zoom in, you can see there's some comments here on the design. And one of the comments is that we need to design a plastic mounting block here with some hardware similar to below. It's this image here. So this is a screenshot that can be taken actually directly inside of Onshape, right? You can just kind of draw we have all the tools inside of Onshape to create a markup, right? And, we'll show you how to do one. And where is this change? I've actually labeled the actual location and space where that screenshot was taken from. So that's tagged right there. I'll just hide our feature tree here. And there's the exact same image, that we started with, right? So what I want to do is start by designing that. And then I want to do a design review with my colleagues to make sure that this is going to be something that's manufacturable, right? So let's start. I'm working in Onshape, and this document's been, you can see various people have been in and out of this document since late 2024. And here's my design history record, if you will, of my medical stretcher. And it's showing me every single change that's ever happened to this design. Who did what and when. I can even search on who modified something. So maybe I want to see what's happened to this that I didn't touch. And I can see Aaron's been working diligently today, on this mounting block right here. So really interesting, really good information that you have because of its cloud-based collaborative nature. You need to know who did what and when working in a system like that. So let's start by working on a branch. So branches in Onshape, you can work on this main branch, right? This is like where everything starts, in a design, but you can branch off and try out really cool ideas and proposed edits, right? And that's what I'm going to do right here. You notice how quickly I'm able to kind of swap between those things. And I am going to just kind of zoom in where I want to start working. And yeah, that's essentially, I want to create another block that looks like this, but it's not quite a mirror image, but it's, I need to draw a few shapes here. So the first thing I want to do, I'm designing in the context of an assembly. This is a complicated thing for a lot of CAD systems to do, but in Onshape, because it remembers every single step in the history, we have some unique benefits that make in-context design way more powerful. All I did was just create a little make connector here on this center point of that part. That gives me the new 0 point for the next new part that I'm going to create. And I'm going to create a brand new part studio in the context of this assembly from that origin, that new make connector. And there I am. I can see it's brought me to a part studio where I can actually do part modeling work, but it's given me the context of the assembly. I'll hide these planes just for a second. And I want to just draw right on that surface, and I can open up a brand new sketch, drop in a center point rectangle. And I just want something that's perhaps 180 by 30, right? And that fully defines it, right? Pretty easy to do. And, I would just hit the extrude button. In this case, of course, I want to extrude it up to a face on another part like that, right? So now I have this new part in place, and that's, creating my geometry to in between those items. Now, of course, I can rename this, and we'll call this the top mount block. And that's essentially the same as going to File, Save As, C:\\, picking a folder to put it in and storing it. And Onshape, you don't need to go through all that rigmarole. This is a live database where we're doing all of our work. And let me just do a couple more things on this before I open this up for a design review. So one thing I want to do is just add a few rounded off things. Now I could round this off in a couple of different ways. I could go into the sketch, and drop in a couple of corners. I could add feature-based fillets, right? That's another way of doing it. I would just go in and drop in a fillet radius right here. So we're getting the shape, kind of in place. I probably need a shell right here, and we're working pretty quick in Onshape. And you can see the feature list being built up. This is not an alien experience, right? If you've used SolidWorks, Inventor, Creo, any parametric feature-based CAD system, this is the way it works, right? This is not going to be a big learning curve for you, the actual CAD modeling aspect of it. It's just you're going to be wrapping your head around some new, interesting ways of collaborating and working together that you've never done before. And that's why we're giving you this demonstration live, so you can see that it's great and normal to work this way. So I have this shape. One other thing I need to do is just create a quick rib network, and then we'll open this up for the design review. Let me just turn off the context. Before I do that, let me rename it, and we'll call this the mount design context. But I'll hide that context. That way I can, just look at this block all by itself. A little easier to look at sometimes, right? I want to pick a sketch, and start working, on a center line or something like that, right? So I want a rib that goes down the middle like this, maybe something, like that. Midpoint line. I think we added that, several releases ago. Let me just drag that right there. The reason why I'm doing a midpoint line is because you can create a rib. I'm going to hit the letter S, hit the rib button, and go from there.
Gotta love the search.
Oh, yeah. The search is great when you're learning Onshape too, if you're coming from another CAD system, because it'll, like, if you type in like boss extrude, that's what you'd say in SolidWorks to work, right? So there we are. We have a couple of things. Yeah,
go ahead. I love that you are already in context. Everything happening here is in context to an assembly. That's pretty large assembly already. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you see the performance is fine. There's not, it's really pretty easy to work in this environment like this. One other thing I just want to do is just do a quick measurement. Let's see, 52. Let's do a measurement. Center position between there and here. Oh, that's degrees. I don't want that. Oh, never mind. All right. I am just going to drop in a couple of holes later on for this, but let's open this up for a design review right now, because I want to get some feedback from my colleagues about this. So turn off the context just to make it easier to look at. And, I can add a comment. Remember that comment capability here? I can add a comment and mention my colleague Sandeep. And can you look at the model with me?
Sure can.
Aaron too. Why not? Right? Yeah, we cannot. And I can even assign a task to one people, one person. So that's pretty much like you're used to with any other kind of modern SaaS app, right? That's how you bring people into designs in Onshape and other SaaS apps. And in a moment, I should see if we go to the B4 proposed edits, branch in this design, I should start seeing my colleagues join me inside of this document. And drum roll, please. Just got to make sure to go into the B4 branch. That might be the only.
I'm getting there.
There we are. That's all right. So I see Aaron's here. Aaron wins the race.
I am in B4 1.1 or B4 proposed edits.
Yes. There we are. Now we're both together. And I can tell because there are my friends right there. These are really good images, by the way. All right. Anyway, so I can see that they're in the document. And, if they replied in some way, right, to this message, they could reply in text. We could be on a call like this together, just pop open a Teams call or Zoom call or whatever and talk and be in the same document. There's a variety of ways that this collaboration system can work. Let's say I want to double click on Sandeep's head, though, right here. If I do that, it brings me to what Sandeep was looking at in this document. And if Sandeep were to spin the model around and do anything, like I'm look, no hands, right? I'm not touching the screen. We have Sandeep showing me what he's interested in. And Sandeep could go to the bottom frame tab at the bottom of the screen. There's and it'll actually switch to the different tabs inside the document, right? So if you wouldn't mind doing that, Sandeep, at the very bottom of the screen, there's a bottom frame folder right in the middle.
Okay, and
Yeah, go into there.
I see an assembly. I see 3 part studios. Where do you want me to go?
Way at the bottom, at the very, very bottom, it says all the folders. Yeah, bottom frame. Yeah, perfect. And now you can see it. I actually followed you into another tab, right? Which is really cool, right? So I'm following you no matter where you go. I can see it. But if I want to take my screen back, all I do is just interact with it again, right? That's essentially how you take the control back, right? And I could go to that part studio. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there we are. There's my part studio that we're working on. So maybe I want to ask a question. And there's a reply here from Aaron. We made it. Let's slow. All right. So anyway, we're in the same document. By the way, all of this stuff works on mobile as well. Let me just go to something like that, right? So like I can open up the medical stretcher on my phone, and we're gonna, this is my phone right here, and I can spin it around, do all the same stuff. I can follow Sandeep from my phone. And that's what Sandeep was looking at. And so all that stuff works. This is a live demo, right? We're not, we're just showing how you could use the system. All right. So if you take a look at this, like this model's if you were to run a design for manufacturing study on this, it would probably not pass muster too well, I think.
I see a couple questionable things.
Do you? Like, what do you see?
No drafts.
No draft.
This is a molded part, yeah.
It is. Yeah. Sorry, Aaron. I must have overlooked that. So let's do a draft analysis right here, right? And I can pick the mold split direction here. Check the entities right here, and if we need 3 degrees of draft, these are the areas without draft at all, 0. That looks pretty bad, right? So I'm going to leave that draft analysis on. And, Onshape has extremely powerful, geometry modeling capabilities. It's based on a Parasolid, engine, which is the same as SolidWorks and NX and systems like that. Here is body draft. I can actually draft this entire part, right? Tell it to exclude certain faces if I really wanted to. Of course, I just need to give it the direction of pull and pick the direction. And this was actually pretty cool what it did, because I added a draft after at the end of the feature tree. And if you go to CAD school, you're probably taught that you should always draft first and fill it later. Like that's like the thing that drilled into my head from my instructor when I first learned CAD. And you can see we kind of broke that rule. Right, it's doing some powerful things here. It knew to take those fillets and drag those out, and that's a pretty complex operation. Of course, you have many choices to override these things, and you can draft individual faces and pick edges, and this is just one way of doing draft. I could have added draft, in many different ways, but this is if you're at the end of the design and you don't want, you don't want to have to go in and rebuild the whole feature tree. This is a pretty cool function to be able to do that. All right, so we have that draft in there. Sounds good. Draft added. I can keep the thread going. Collaborative CAD system, right? That's what we're showing it. This is a collaborative CAD system. We're working together. We're talking with one another, making changes in real time on a branch, right? All this stuff has been saved already. I did not need to hit the save button. There is no save button. Like there's no floppy disk anywhere, right? I'm just, everything's being saved.
It's a floppy disk.
Yeah. What was it? You had the 5 1/4, 3 1/2. You had the zip drive disks. You had CDs. People started using it to burn things onto. But we can label versions, right? So we're in 2025 here, I think. Yeah, 2025. This is how we do things now. We label versions, right? And here we are in the B4 branch. Maybe I'll call this B4.2 or something, just to keep the nomenclature, relevant. It's automatically going to give you the next available one in a serial scheme, but you can call it whatever you want. You can see Aaron has one for his CAM tooling, and I have one for my proposed edits, and there was a DFM study before. So these are the ways that you can kind of work and try out different things. And I can even see what it looked like before. I don't want to do that. I just want to compare. I just want to see what it looked like before I started making these changes, and the version that I just made, just to kind of give you an idea that this is also a capability as you're making design changes. You want to see, what the effects of the design changes are, right? And that's what we have. All right. So I'm going on and on and on. I could do that all day. So let me just keep on going with the presentation here. So go back to the branch here.
Can I chime in? The main branch is never disturbed right here. So you've branched off of the main branch, and people have tried different things, DFM, B4.1, B4.1.1, and these are all different, experiments essentially.
Yeah.
But the main branch is intact. It's secure. So your work is never lost. You're the main branch that continues to evolve is protected, and you work faster that way. You're experimenting more, and you're almost not afraid of experimentation. And
Right.
it goes towards what I was saying before, that you are really then in a almost a mental space to experiment and push the envelope to go a little bit further and get more competitive designs out there, right?
Exactly. So let's assume that I had completed this part. I just want to finish the assembly part up, create a release package, submit it for production so that we can create the molding and the tooling for these parts, because that part's a long lead time item. We need to get it quote out. We need to get that part made. It might take a couple weeks to get that part returned as an injection mold and all that. So let's just let's do this. Let's search for the block. All right, so I have this block in place. So just kind of fast forwarding through our demonstration here. I've completed the block, let's say, Julia Child pre-baked block, and I've already placed it in here. There's a few other parts that I want to place in here as well inside of the design. You might want some washers, some screws, things like that, right? So I'll insert that content, right? I can insert items from inside this document, all the things that I've designed, right? There's that part studio that I had created earlier, right there. Or, I can insert things from outside, right? You might have a library that you've built of things that you might have downloaded from McMaster-Carr or something like that, and you could store that here centrally. And you also have standard content, which is like our standard bolts, nuts, screws. We provide that with Onshape as well. And I don't know what size hole I need. I'm going to pick that. It tells me it's 9.314 millimeters. If I hit this button, it will auto size the fastener to fit that size. If there was anything that matches it within a certain range, but it probably doesn't. So I'm just going to say M8. And I want 30. I'm going to put one here and insert it. Just like that. And I always forget to add the washer first. It's like, I think of the screw and never the washer. So I just go to the washer after, say, an M8 right here. And what I'm going to try to do is just hide this for a second. And I'm going to pick this face right here and say, slide it under the head. And if I turn that on, right again, you can see, it did indeed slide it under the head because that's what I told it to do, right? So I could have done that a little better on the other one too. In fact, let me just replicate this one. I don't want to have just one over there. I can replicate these two items right here and match items on that face. And just like that, we have the same stack over there very easily. It's pretty easy to do. Of course, we would need to do the same thing on the other side and all that. In fact, I could actually make that entire clamped set that same way with the replicate function if I hadn't, already had these parts in here. So that's really what's going on here. By the way, everything that we're doing as far as part count and everything is being captured in the bill of materials, as we're moving forward, right? So this is a live, structured bill of materials showing everything that's going on in this particular design. My weight is up to date at all times. Really good. All right. Let's finish this so we can get a quote made. Let's just make a drawing of that fresh one that I had dropped in here. We'll create a drawing of that pedal mounting block, stick it on a 4-view drawing on a B-size piece of paper. And we'll get a quote made. We need a drawing package, right? To get a quote out. Yeah, that's kind of a funny looking view there. I'll just drop in a section or something like that just to, make an official looking drawing. But this is the legal document that drives the economy, right? So let's see. It's not going to be a fancy drawing, but you can see it is filling out all the relevant information as you would expect. It's just filling all that in. We'll create a release package. We're going to release it through a workflow. This is part of Onshape Professional and Enterprise is the PDM being built in. That's the $50,000 button because that's what most people say they save when they switch from something like a SolidWorks PDM to Onshape is, the PDM aspect of it being built in. You don't have to manage your own servers, have deployment specialists being sent out all the time, sending your vault in the support. All those things are not a thing anymore. In Onshape, it's just built in. I can see here's my drawing package and the part that's related to it. This is essentially Rev B of that part because I'm going there and it's Rev A of the drawing, but I can overwrite that too and give it the same drawing number just by hitting that button. And, it would tell me if there wasn't an official change. You can see how I cheated a little bit by putting the Julia Child pre-baked part in. It knows. Okay. Busted. Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to call this an ECO. Yeah, I'm going to release this as ECO 2219B. Just to give it a number. And I want, maybe I'll have Aaron sign off on it. No, I'm going to have Sandeep sign off on it if that's okay. And Aaron's at the shop, right? He's working with my close partner down the street, doing the mold shop stuff. Ready for a quote for 10-piece prod run. Need a 3-cavity mold. All right. So if I submit that, emails are going out. I don't have to open up Outlook. Okay. So Sandeep got an email, Aaron got an email. They got a link to this document. They could open it. In fact, it's creating a special moment in time in our timeline. And this is really cool. You see it's in progress, this watermark on the screen right here. If I go into that moment right here, this is that moment in time. Everything's preserved in Onshape in the past, so you don't have to worry about breaking anything because this is a named moment in time. It will never change, essentially, right? You can see it's ECO 2219B and it's pending, right? It's not signed off yet. But let's say
all right, I just got my notification to sign off, and I've been notified that I'm an assignee, and this has been assigned to me. So I'm gonna go sign off on my side. And
Okay.
you should see.
I'm not touching or refreshing my screen. My hands are off the keyboard. And
We trust you, Michael. Don't worry.
okay.
All right.
Do you have sign-off rights?
I believe I do. So I have an action item on my side, and it says assigned to me. And then I see no action items found once I get there.
Okay. Let's if you right click right here, you can go to releases and it should say pending. And you should be able to release it that way.
Okay, let's do that.
Just to show you what Sandeep was looking for. Well, I'll wait until you do it because I want to see the live change happen. There we go. Oh no, hold on.
So yeah, so eco pending. There we go. Release. Okay.
All right, great.
So I did that.
All right, so my screen just updated. A release has been created by Sandeep. Click here to learn more. There's the sign off right there, right? So it's never that quick or simple in another PDM or PLM, by the way. If you've used them, you know this. I'm going to say that. I'm just going to whisper that. But there it is. It's released. I have the whole history of what's happened here in this change candidate. I can see Sandeep did indeed approve it. And, there's action item lists that we can look at, data, reporting, analytics. For that, I can say, I'm looking for releases. Status is complete. Sandeep was the person it was assigned to, right? I can filter all this stuff out and I can see, things that have happened in the past, right? So it's really pretty cool to get to that information extremely fast. All right, so we have a release package. There's another way of doing this, by the way. Like when I shared this, it was sharing like the whole document, medical structure, and that's okay because Aaron's a close partner. Sandeep works for the company, but maybe you want to like just create a quick publication, like a quote package, for this purpose, right? Let's just do that quote. We're going to call it 250605-01. And I'm just going to leave it at the top level company there. And I can insert the released item that we had just created. There's that pedal mount drawing. And pedal mount part studio. I'm going to look for, what did I call it? Block. Oh, it's the part studio name. Here we are. Pedal mounting block. So you see, I'm dropping in just the information I want my colleagues to see, right? And this publication is isolating that part all by itself. It's at Rev B. There we are. And I could actually share that to, Aaron instead if I wanted him to quote on that. So that's like another way of sharing. Instead of packaging up PDF files and emailing them and all that, or setting up, Dropboxes and things like that, all I have to do is create one of these publications, and it's sharing just the right amount of information, right? So that's one way of doing it. But another way of doing it is just to work centrally together in the company. And that's the way Aaron and I are set up because we're working together all the time. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to give Aaron the presentation rights because we're going to do some cam work, I believe.
Yeah, we should be. Oh, we got Inception mode. Sorry about that. Awesome. This is a nice looking design. I'm going to go ahead and make the 3-cavity mold that Michael was talking about. First thing I want to actually show you is that I was getting a couple notifications as we were going through the demonstration there. You can see the release was noted here. The throttle body, well, that's actually related to another thing I'm working on. But these are all things that you'll constantly get, the reminders you'll get in Onshape when you are collaborating with others. Now, before I actually started creating this, I do want to show you, and I think you saw this already, but I actually created a branch to go ahead and create some of this cam tooling on. And the reason why I did that is because when you have two people working on the same models, especially for like a collaboration webinar, you might have some issues that come up. So in creating this branch, I ensured that I was not going to cause Michael, any issues, it's just it's a very freeing way to gain access to exploring the whole design availability. And within each version that we have here, you can see there's every little change that we made is noted, and you can see tabs removed, or like the features were changed, and different things were happening as we went through this design. So I'm going to go ahead and close that now, and I just want to walk you through how I went about making this tooling for this PP part. It's a polypropylene part. I don't know if you saw that in the drawing title block, but first thing I did is I derived it into like a new workspace. I just wanted a nice clean space for me to get my head around where I want to do some of this CAM modeling, or the CAM toolpath creation. The next thing I did is I just kind of transformed it into a better spot within my workspace. I just centered it right on the origin. I just, good practice. And then I went and I scaled it. And as I mentioned, it was polypropylene. So I did like a 3% scale up to account for shrinkage that might occur as the plastic cools. And then I went and I created a linear pattern. So I went 2 directions from the center there. And now I have this three cavity mold. I created a sketch, and what you might expect this will become is just a real simple extrude, and that's really all you can see right now. We'll go ahead and do a quick section view so you can see kind of a little more detail as to what's happening here. But all that's happening is that these 2 bodies are kind of within the same space here, and from there I can go ahead and move it forward. You can see I did a Boolean. This enables me to kind of remove the materials that were within that other piece. You know what? I think I have 2 section views on. Let me edit my section view here. Let's try that again. Select this, slide it through. Maybe we won't show the section view today. You can see I did the Boolean, I removed those materials, and then I actually do an extrude on top. This is going to be another piece of this cavity. It's actually going to become the cavity in the core. And then I did another Boolean. In this case, I actually added to the parts that were kind of left behind. And then I transformed them just to kind of open it up, and you can see kind of the 2 pieces side by side. This guy will, form right in there. And then there's a lot more details that would go into a creation of a mold insert. I mean, sprues and gates and runners and lifters. And, I'm not pretending to know all those details. I just want to kind of give you an idea of, how you could work together with your machinists or whoever's creating the tooling for you. So from there, I jumped over into a CAM Studio, and real simple, just insert the component you're going to be creating the tooling for. So I just started with the core here. Start a job, determine your machine, select your tools. You can create your own tool libraries and share those amongst your teammates. And then from there, you can create your tool paths. And I just want to quickly kind of show you what this one looks like. This is just a roughing operation with a real big end mill. We can go through and we can obviously add more details, but just as a first pass, this will give me a good idea of kind of what to expect when this thing's actually being created. Speed it up a bit, hit play, and you can start to see the actual piece taking shape, right in front of you as this goes through and it actually creates this mold tooling. So with that, I think we have a pretty nice design started. We'll pass it back over to Michael. I think we're going to actually take a couple questions. So let me stop sharing here.
There was one question about, let's see. See a bunch of questions coming in. Does Onshape have an Android app as well? Yes, it does. Yes. So Android and iOS. Can this be used for intelligent 3D modeling from point cloud data? Yes, it can. So if you get a point cloud turned into a mesh and bring the mesh into Onshape, that is how you would involve yourself with that.
Yeah, and there's mixed modeling capabilities as well. So if you want to use that to actually make changes to your 3D models, that's a fantastic way to go about doing it. You don't have to worry about trying to convert your point cloud data into actual like BREP bodies. And going back to the Android question, I mean, that is the preferred user interface when you're on a mobile device. You want to get the Onshape apps. They're going to give you the best experience within that tool. So
yeah. And this is a very good point by Adrian Velasquez. Thanks for joining the session. With a project so large, it is very good to split it across multiple documents, right? This is just for, to kind of keep it collected is one thing to share for demo purposes. But, if you look at, most documents in Onshape, you would have a split document structure where, you might have one system be one document, one system be another document, as things get larger. Another question. Can CAD made in Onshape be used in simulation software by using different mates and such? The answer is yes. So Onshape can import and export almost any normal format, of course. For simulation, especially with the mates, the Onshape mating structure, those mates are high-level mates and are really well positioned for robotic type applications. Like there's, Cindy, what's the application that we work with that takes the mates? I'm drawing a blank, but I know you know it.
Sorry, what was the question again?
The multi-body mate application that will take the mates from Onshape and drive an animation. There was something from MathWorks, right? That does this, right?
Right. So we in our App Store, MathWorks is built on top of our API. So we have modern technical stack. We have an API, and then anyone can build an application using our API basically. And MathWorks, a well-known company, has gone ahead and done that. So for robotics applications, you can basically very quickly, seamlessly take designs and take into MathWorks. And in robotics, it's all about coordinate systems and mate like coordinate systems and mating them. So it can be done very seamlessly. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add, make sure to take a look at the Onshape App Store. I used to have a deep connection with the Onshape App Store. So there's a number of very fantastic apps in there, some Scale, some Solid. Make sure to take a look at those. They offer some really fantastic integrations as well. So
yeah. But yeah, keep asking questions. This is a good time for Q&A. This is the Q&A session now. So but while we're wrapping up and questions are coming in, let's I'll share my screen with some other information that I wanted to wrap up with. Everything that you saw here today has been tracked, through data management, release management, all of it's here. You can look at analytics. You saw me kind of open up the session earlier with that, but you can get deep dive information through the enterprise system. So this is showing me all the releases in the last 30 days, 6 releases, 6 ECOs essentially, and it's building up reports on that. We can also go into action item reports, so I can look at my engineering department as an engineering manager perhaps and see what's going on at a high level within my organization, right? Seeing exactly what is going on right now. There we are. So if there's anything overdue, who's got the biggest workload. It's like Debbie Designers killing it.
Workhorse.
Exactly. So this is the kind of information you can get right there.
You can collect all analytics basically off of your collaborative design.
Yeah. This is a great mention from Kevin. That you saw a little bit about that mobile phone come up on the screen. That mobile stuff, AR view is built in to most of the modern Apple devices, so you can see this thing in real time in AR. You can even connect an Apple Vision Pro, to Onshape, to have a fully immersive kind of augmented reality experience. So definitely, take a look at that.
A lot of cloud native technologies are going to AR because you can access all the cloud compute. Basically, huge data sets can be accessed almost instantaneously using it, almost infinite compute, and then you can stream either it's a simulation, it's a rendering, whatever it is, into AR and take advantage of collaborative working that way. So your frontline engineers, analysts are no longer segregated or siloed. Right? So everybody is working off the same data set, which is on the cloud, which is on, and it's very powerful.
Yeah. There are different editions of Onshape. There's the way you get started. Actually, I should bring this up. It's relating to a question here. One of the questions was like, there's different packages, right? Onshape, if you want to start learning Onshape in the full professional edition with the release management and CAM and rendering and simulation and all that, you want to try the Onshape Discovery Program, just sign up for Onshape there. And you can start, learning it through the AI Advisor, and we have great self-paced training, and you can get certified. But, there's different editions of Onshape. Like if you're just using this as your hobby, you can totally use it for free, and it's just public data. That's just the only thing that you have the basic CAD program functions without the high-end PDM, but you have all the CAD functionality to create parts, assemblies, drawings, sheet metal. And you can do that with the free version. There's student versions of Onshape. There are university enterprises that are available for Onshape. It's all up on the website, but there should be a package that fits your need. I mean, so if you're asking to pay for it, you don't have to pay for it if you just want to use it for a hobby, right? That's the way we've set it up. Was if you're using it for hobby, it's free, completely free.
Yeah, I would just like to draw additional attention to the AI Advisor. It's relatively new. It's in the Learning Center. If you're just starting out using Onshape, check that out. It's gonna get you going the right direction pretty quickly. So just give it a little extra shout out. The new kid on the block.
Still got some time for questions. While we're waiting for some other questions to come in, there are lots of other companies that have gained benefit from collaborating live and in real time inside of Onshape. So BOA is one of those companies that makes it, advanced, a lot of sporting equipment type companies use Onshape. But their main quote here was, when considering a switch to Onshape, it was amazing that you could collaborate on a document together, right? Even if it's a two-person team, you never know when you're going to need that. And it's just very convenient, when you're able to work together. Same thing for Formlabs. Everybody knows who Formlabs is, 3D printer additive, resin-based printers, right? So, the way that you can work together, everything's always backed up. If computer crashes, you just move to another computer, right? So, it's a real time saver being able to work together. You're able to work together in real time. So, let's see. Everything's a yearly plan with Onshape, so you just pay by the year. There's standard, professional, and enterprise plans available. $1,500 a year is the US dollar price for the standard plan as of this webinar. You just go to onshape.com, right? Everything is right here, for you to explore. Let's see, is there anything else you would like to add, Aaron or Sandeep, that I may have forgotten?
No, I think you did a fantastic job. I mean, you're well versed at this. I do want to say I like your use of rigmarole. That's a great word to incorporate into a webinar like this. No, I think you did a fantastic job. I think you showed a lot of great functionality and hit all the key collaboration points. So thank you, Michael.
Right.
Thank you for collaborating. And Sandeep, it's always good to hang out and talk about how companies can work in a different way, in a faster way, better way. Just give some ideas on what's possible.
Yeah, I hope people could see a different way of working, working more collaboratively, working in branches, keeping your work protected, at the same time keeping the main branch protected, and it just this way of working just speeds up a lot of deliverables at the end of the day, and it's the more modern technical stack, and hope everybody was able to see. The world of CAD is changing as well. It's not just not just Google Docs or your Slack, right? The world of CAD is also getting cloud native, and it's with that comes a lot of capability that we should also be taking advantage of.
Exactly. Looks like there was a question from Mohammed about pellers, fans, threads, screws, all that stuff. Onshape can build all that, of course. Let me just try to find something quick before I close the session out. Oops. Onshape.com. There we are. Let's see. Try to find something with some advanced shapes in it somewhere. I don't know if I have a propeller handy, but Onshape has, the ability to obviously generate any shapes. That was a scan. There we go.
So there's a turbine floating around somewhere. I would recommend getting into the public documents. There's all kinds of fantastic stuff. You get an idea of what can be made just going through there.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great call there. You just search public and find some examples, see how people have built it. Ask questions on the forum as well. If you have questions about how to do things. All right. Following the top has, if you don't have that activity, this is an enterprise plan that I'm using. So that's why you see activity, documents, analytics, and action items. Professional users and other users have action items. They're just found underneath the menu over here instead of the top. That's all. All right. Well, that is all we have for today. So thank you again. It is noon Boston time. I hope you picked up a thing or two, saw some different ways of working, and I really appreciate everybody joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See y'all.
Bye.